Hello and happy miserable grey Saturday. Can't be helped. Nonetheless, it's not preventing me from going for a wander into Kew Gardens.
Welcome to another episode of Toby Stupid Vlog.
So today we haven't really done much. We did a little bit of shopping around the retail park this morning just to get a few odds and ends and presents for various babies and whatnot. Tomorrow we're going out for lunch. Proper Sunday lunch, which should be good fun. And right now I'm just going to pop into the gardens because my parents have come to see the orchids, so I'm going to say hello. So in Kew, one of the ways you can judge how terrible the weather is can you see the planes as they come into land at Heathrow? You can certainly hear them, but if you can't see them, then it means the clouds are really low and generally rubbish. And at the moment, there's no sign of that plane at all, which is a bit disappointing. But look, it's appeared. Maybe things are looking up, literally. Good morning, it's Monday and I'm off to USP in a moment. But first, I thought that I would talk briefly about the Apple Watch. It's out a week today, or it's announced formally a week today. But by the time you see this, all of that will have happened. So forgive me for the things that I get wrong, but Apple hasn't actually said them yet in my world. Here's a few points I wanted to make. It will be hugely successful because it's driven, as with a lot of Apple products, by hype and by a desire to do something that's never been done before. And that in itself is exciting and people will spend the money. But here's the first thing. First thing is, I don't think it's a very attractive looking object. Certainly not an attractive watch by any stretch. First thing is, personal taste. I dislike square watches a lot and rectangular watches. I do have a Pebble, but I bought that because I like the functionality and I put up with the look. But the Pebble isn't pretty and the Apple Watch isn't much prettier. Admittedly, it's not plastic, but it's not much prettier. It's too thick. It has the crown not centered. There's a lot of things about it that aren't quite, aesthetically perfect. Now, I don't expect them to be in the first iteration, frankly. I think it's going to take at least one or two more iterations to get that look right. But personally, if it is at least partly a watch, I do want a circular interface. I do want a circular screen. I know that presents problems to other things, but first and foremost, if you've got the word watch in the title, then it has to do the function of a watch reasonably well. So I think that's a problem. I do think the thickness is an issue. I think the other biggest problem is the ecosystem lock. So if you buy any other Apple product, I've got an iPhone, I've got an iPad for work, I've got a Mac, but none of them rely on each other to work. So for example, I could buy a Mac and still have an Android phone or have an Android tablet. Likewise, I could have a PC and an iPhone and that would still work. But the Apple Watch will only work with an iPhone. And it's not cheap. The cheapest one will be around $350, which is probably 350 quid, actually, realistically. So you spent £350 on a piece of kit and you have to spend another several £100s on an iPhone. I don't think that's very smart. The reason I like Pebble is cross-platform. I think that's very important. It gives the consumer choice and that gives the product some longevity. Because if I went out and bought an Apple Watch in a couple of weeks and spent the minimum amount, and then 6 months from now I decided I wanted a different phone and I didn't want an iPhone, my £350 watch is now redundant. And that is a problem. That's a big problem. And I can't see that because the price point's so high even for a smartwatch, I just can't see that. That's a real niggly point with me. And they're going to have to do something about that ultimately. It's going to have certain standalone functionality. And it might do. But the other thing is, the positive thing is, one, I do like the idea of smart wearables and smartwatches in particular. Once you get used to it, it's a very useful function and it will do more than my Pebble will. And the other thing is, it will actually get people to understand the concept of paying more than £30 for a cheapo quartz watch. So the overall watch market might benefit. If £350 for a watch becomes the norm, then there's a lot of companies who make conventional watches around that price point, which previously people wouldn't have even considered, but maybe psychologically it will no longer be such a big problem. So there are several positives, but at the moment the negatives outweigh it for me. Good afternoon. It's quite a beautiful afternoon. I've been recovering from yesterday because I was in the studio underground for about 8 hours and I didn't see any daylight. So this is very pleasant by comparison. Daffodils are coming. Parakeets are incredibly noisy, which is very handy. And I'm doing very little today. Tomorrow it will be a family outing, hopefully, and then Thursday and Friday is Birmingham. So I'm getting mentally prepared for that. It's a nearly sunny day and I'm at Hampton Court to do some familying. They've all congregated together here, just, sunbathing and whatnot.
Nice.
It's all around your face, so it must be good.
It's very sophisticated watch to come and have your BBC now.
Yeah. How do you? I can't
Yeah.
him and I'll just get a spoon.
Yeah, it is like a TV. It's a lot like a TV.
That was a fun day out. So I've got to get up early, go to Birmingham in the morning. Oh, there's a cat looking at me. It's giving me the evil eye. Yes, I can't see you, well hidden behind those daffodils. Yes, as I said, I've got to get up early, get to Birmingham in the morning, but just got the bus to Hampton Court and back. For those of you that know South West London, the bus I get is the R68, which from where I catch it goes through Richmond and then East Twickenham, Teddington and Hampton Hill. Nothing particularly remarkable about the bus route, except that I get it a lot because I have to go into Teddington for RHP meetings. But what I have noticed today is that it passes a ridiculous number of Italian eateries. So be that pizza delivery places, pizza restaurants, Italian delis, Italian cafes. In fact, in those 4 towns, it goes through, passes 26. It was so absurd I started counting. 26 Italian eateries. Couldn't the local market really support that many? I'll be surprised. Let's see if there's still 26 in a year's time. Good morning. Happy road trip day. So today, off to Birmingham, but via Stoneleigh first. So technically, I'm going in the wrong directions for the first hour. But now we'll see how much you need HS2, I guess. This will be an interesting test. Other interesting side note is I've never properly visited Birmingham before. I've been through it, and I've been to the Birmingham Motor Show, but I have never... Well, I guess I'm not really going to it either now. I'm going to the International Convention Centre. This will be as long as I've ever spent in Birmingham in the nearly 35 years I've been on this planet. Bay A, the ICC. Only took us, 3 hours? This is the view from the 5th floor of the ICC in Birmingham. You can see, this is the Grand Union Canal, I believe, which runs pretty much back to my house, only it's the slowest way to travel. This is where I had crew food for lunch. Everyone else is buggered off. Excuse me. I'll show you a bit round a bit later on and where we're going and whatnot. There's a bit more canal. Now you see that giant grey monolith? That's where we're staying, I think. Yes, in the Dewey's Inn Hotel and Prison. So I think that's where we'll be going in a bit. This is Hall 1, which is where we're currently meeting. Right, so the sun is setting. We've been in tweaking things. Neil's got to do a rehearsal, which is ever so boring, so I'm leaving him to it. I'm going to go and check into the hotel if I can find it in central Birmingham, and then tomorrow we'll be controlling those screens up there and another one through the doors there. And it's as simple as that. This is the ICC, incidentally. It's kind of like conference centre meets shopping centre. Oh, glorious Birmingham. Okay, I've never been here for more than 4 hours before, and the longest I was here, I was at the NEC. So, one, I wasn't expecting so many large, sort of tall buildings, I guess, because London doesn't even have that many high-rises. There's a lot of high-rise here, plus there's a canal. But it does feel very generic, I'll be honest. It could be, it doesn't feel like anywhere in particular. So that is the conference centre there, the ICC. And then in front of it, this is Brindley Place, which has got some nice restaurants and whatnot, I believe. That's what it's called. And yes, we're on the 13th floor here. So it's not bad though, is it? I mean, that's what I need, 2 double beds and enough room to dance in. I always think it's very glamorous staying in hotels for business and whatnot. It's not. But I enjoy it, so what the hell. So, as is traditional when you check into a hotel, the first thing you need to do is test the bed. Now we have 2 beds. I'm going to presume they're the same because otherwise my face will hurt, because the only way to test a bed properly is to face plant into it as hard as possible. Yeah, that's fine. Birmingham by night. This is the 16th floor up here. And if you look all the way down, so you have a church there obviously, but next to the church you have a free radio, which is where they're based. So we've just been out for a curry. We just went down Broad Street, and this is Birmingham, so you have to have a curry. That's just what you do, especially as this is the longest I've been in Birmingham for my whole life. The previous best, as I've mentioned, was 4 hours. So this is a new personal best. And do I get a medal or I don't know. Anyway, so we've got to be up really early tomorrow. We've got to be over at the conference centre, which is 100 metres that way, at like 7:30. So we've got to have breakfast at 6:30. That is a real thing, 6:30. Yeah, I assure you. So that's good. And then where we go from there is just like anyone's guess. So there we go. That's nice. I'm going to bed now. Good day. Good morning. It's 6:30, which is obviously time to get up on a Friday. Wandering the halls of the Jury's Inn. It's as dark as when I went to bed. Oh well. So yeah, Wesleyan conference today at the ICC. Once I wake up. Which lift? Which lift? So this is Hall 3, which is currently being built. This is the tech bit. These are the reflectors which are going up with the lighting rigs on, and then in the corners, so where those curtains are, and those curtains, there'll be a big screen which will have a Crowdscreen on within an hour, hopefully, if this is all finished being assembled by then. I'm literally wandering the service corridors to get between the 2 halls, because in one hall there's a load of people who are obviously listening to a conference, and so you can't get into it through any of the main doors. So luckily I've discovered, hang on a minute, is this the right way? This doesn't feel the right way. I was going to say I discovered a secret route. The problem is I haven't paid any attention to the signs. Here we go. This takes me backstage. Hence why I'm whispering. Just doing some backstage creeping. Everyone's just filing in again for a second session in the auditorium. And then they'll just disappear again and come back for dinner tonight. I figure because I've got at least an hour before they come out and have to look at the screens again, I might actually go for a very short wander around Birmingham. I know, it's risky stuff. So, that's the Birmingham Library, which looks like a wedding cake. And this is the ICC and Symphony Hall where we are today. There's the wonderful Jury's Inn Hotel where I'm staying. It's beautiful, isn't it? Stunning. This is Broad Street, and I don't know where I'm going. Here's some slightly older than 1960s things. The Memorial and the Museum and Art Gallery. So, you know, Birmingham isn't all post-war concrete. So this is Birmingham Cathedral. First thing you'll know is that it's quite small for a cathedral. But you know, it's a nice green park that it's now resting in. Anyway, one of the reasons that it is so small is because it was built as a church. It was built as St Philip's Church in the 1740s, 1730s maybe? Don't know the exact date. Anyway, in 1905, when they decided they wanted to put a cathedral in Birmingham, they thought rather than spend the money building a new one, they would just reconsecrate the church as a cathedral. So, hence, St Philip's is the Cathedral of Birmingham. So this is part of Birmingham's jewellery district, which obviously is exactly what it sounds like. So this whole road is just jewellery, essentially, all the way up and down. And on both sides to a certain extent, where there isn't eateries. Yeah. So there we go, I've completed my 1 hour tour of Birmingham city centre. And now I'm back in the ICC. Woohoo. So they break up in a moment, and then it's gala dinner this evening at 7. So I need to do a bit of change over on the old Crowdscreens and come back for dinners. So this room's being redressed again for the dinner tonight. Everyone in the conference seats down there. We eat up here. Sounds good on the balcony, but I guarantee their food will be better. So they've all finished, so I'm back in the hotel with glorious views over Birmingham. So I specifically took both the biscuits this morning, hoping that when they made up the room they'd give me new biscuits. There's no biscuits. This is upsetting, to say the least. Anyway, got a couple of hours to kill now before I have to be back for oh yes, gala dinner. Yeah, so have a shower, watch some crap TV. So it's pretty around place at night. Restaurants, squares, sparkling lights. What more could you want, really? Well, nothing, I hope, because you can't get anything else. Heading back over for the last time, check all the walls are working and whatnot, and then dinner, which is really what I'm most excited about. The Jacksons were unavailable. Right, that's done. I'm going to bed because we have to drive 120 miles so I can go to a meeting at Teddington tomorrow. I've got to be there by 9:30. So we're going to be leaving about 7 again. So it occurs to me that it's actually Friday. I'd kind of forgotten, and therefore it's the end of the week and the vlog. So I thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the change of scenery. It'll be a shortish vlog next week, and then there'll be a Paris only vlog which starts on Thursday. So if you enjoyed it, please subscribe, and hope to see you here very soon.